Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, Ken, thanks very much. Good evening, everyone. Gene Collier has just entered the building. He's about to take his seat, and we'll get comments from the outstanding columnist of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I'm Bob Pompeani. Thanks for joining us tonight for another edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We have a lot to get into. But something's been bugging me here today with regard to something that's not sports. So, Gene, I would like you to put your mic on and get ready because I'm going to ask for your response on this. It's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And
I'm ready, Bob.
Yeah, you know, there's a movement out there by people who want that classic to be banned because they believe that Rudolph was bullied when he was a young reindeer. But instead, they should look at the opposite side of that. I mean, he overcome whatever he was dealing with. He became very powerful as a reindeer. He went to the Island of Misfit Toys. He gave them strength. He took them with him, and they all were outstanding at what they did, Gene. So why are we going through this as a society?
Is that what happened?
That's
he went to the Island of...
So he empowered them. He was inspirational to them, right? Wasn't he?
I don't know.
Anyway, I saw that. I mean, it's a token of what goes on out there today, and people... Everything. Anyway, we're here to talk sports. So the number to call is 412-575-2600. You can also tweet us at KDPomp, at Gene Collier. And, of course, the one that everyone's talking about is still last night at Heinz Field where the Steelers blew a 23-7 halftime lead. They had a good drive going in the second half to start, and there was a call against Ramon Foster that nullified a nice run by James Conner. Right. So there were many ways to look at this game. You can look at it from an official's point of view, which were awful. They missed a lot of calls, and there's no doubt that contributed to how this unfolded. But I also like to go beyond that and say you always, you know, coaches will tell you all the time they don't want to blame officials, so therefore don't blame officials. They had plenty of opportunities to get off the field on third down. The Steelers could not do it. And they also chose to employ a same strategy throughout the game, which was covering a very good receiver. In fact, their only weapon, Gene, Keenan Allen, with a linebacker. And it was a mismatch in the first half. It became a mismatch throughout the game, and they never seemed to beg off of that. You know, so that you have to wonder about the strategy involved. This guy was, you know, they didn't have Melvin Gordon. They had one legitimate option, and it was him. And yet, he was still a big part of this game.
Yeah, after the game, Bob, much after the game, because Phillip Rivers took one of the longest showers in AFC history after the game. I was able to ask him if the Steelers did, in fact, change their approach to the way they were dealing or not dealing with Keenan Allen. And he said no, they pretty much stayed with what they were doing. That's what they do. They do it very well. Well, they didn't do it very well last night. Keenan Allen not only was targeted 19 times, he caught 14 passes, 9 of them for first downs, 1 for a touchdown, and 1 for a 2-point conversion.
Yep.
So, and he did most of that without the Steelers really changing up their coverage, which more than half the time left a linebacker who was overmatched, either John Bostic or Vince Williams, on
or L.J. Fort at sometimes, too.
Sometimes L.J. Fort.
Yeah.
And they were just not able to deal with him. So there, you know, the next question becomes, okay, if you do it a different way, are you opening up something else? But, you know, I'm not expert enough to say that. But, you know, Keenan Allen killed him, absolutely killed him.
He really did. And he was one of those guys you thought they might take away completely and double team him or whatever, and they didn't do it. And, yes, he was lining more into the slot at times, which puts the emphasis, I thought, on Mike Hilton. If not him, then Joe Hayden, somebody in that corner group. But it never really materialized that way. That's one way you can look at it. You can also look at it, as I said, from an official's point of view, or you can also look at it and say the offense didn't do anything in the second half, and why were they shut down until the very end? You know, they just, I don't know if it's abandoning their game plan that they had in the first half, if it's taking their pedal off the metal, got a little too prevent offense. Yeah. I don't know what it was, but they did not have the same vibe. Right,
and don't forget the Ben Roethlisberger angle. He cost them at least 10 points.
He did.
With a terrible throw in the red zone early in the second quarter, and then late in the second quarter, missing a wide open Justin Hunter.
That would have been 7. Instead, it was 3.
So there's at least 7 right there. And, you know, the last 3 games he's thrown 5 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. As I wrote today in your Good Morning Post-Gazette, Bob, and I know you read me religiously.
All the time.
You know, this really came down to you have a very good team with a hot quarterback in San Diego against a very good team without a hot quarterback in the Steelers.
Yeah, well, I mean, he saw it. When he's off a little bit, it shows, and there were critical throws in that game that took points off the board, as what you would think. The one that you referred to, they floated up there, and it was underthrown, and James came over, and he's a good player, Derwin James, but that took points off the board. They were in scoring territory, and then the one to Justin Hunter. So we have a lot to talk about. Also, the Penguins today made a trade, a second one, and this one involves someone who wasn't playing here, but it's interesting. I don't know what their end game is here. Pedersen is coming to Pittsburgh. We'll talk about him and other stuff coming up. So all you have to do is call us. It's 412-575-2600. You can also tweet us at KDPomp, at Gene Collier. Let us know what you think and air your opinions. So do it right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call 7 nights a week on Pittsburgh CW.
The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, Pittsburgh's #1 home exterior expert in roofing, siding, windows, and gutters.